Hello and welcome to time series forecasting. In this video I'm going to talk about scenario based forecasting, and the concept is built on forecasting with regression models. And we saw that in the ex post forecasting we already know the values of our x variables, but for ex ante forecast our predictors are not known in advance, so we either use simple forecasting methods to first forecast these predictors and then use the values of these predictors in our main regression model to predict our variable of interest. Now the values of some special predictors may be known in advance. Building on these same concepts, I want to talk about scenario based forecast, in which rather than using simple forecasting methods, we predict our variable of interest based on particular scenarios. For example, we may be interested in predicting consumption in say 2022, and we build two scenarios. In the first scenario, income will go up by 1%, saving will go up by 0.5%, and unemployment will be unchanged. So this will be our first scenario. Our second scenario will be income going down by 1%, savings going down by 0.5%, and unemployment rate being unchanged. So now we have these two scenarios, and we're gonna use these two scenarios to predict consumption variable. So let's go ahead in R and work with this example. So again, we're gonna start by estimating our model. We're gonna estimate consumption based on three variables: income, savings, and unemployment rate, and save the results. And then we are interested in forecasting for the next 4 periods. We're gonna save h equals 4. And then I'm going to generate this data set. And this data set is showing us that income is going up by 1%, saving is going up by 0.5%, and the unemployment rate is unchanged. We can click on this data and see that this is the data set that we created. So you can either create this data like this, or plug in the values manually in Excel or CVS file and bring it in here. Anyways, the concept here is to give a particular scenario. And then we are going to use this function forecast, and our first argument will be our regression model. So remember, we have to plug in this regression model in the equation so that our regression model could use the estimated coefficient values from our estimated model. And then the next argument will be the data set that we want to use, that is the scenario that we want to use to forecast these values. That is, we will be plugging in the values of these three predictors that we want to use in our regression model. So we're going to save the results, and I'm going to call it up. And in the next scenario, I'm going to assume that the value of income is going down by 1%, and savings is going down by 0.5%, and unemployment is being unchanged. In this case, I'm using a slightly different function. I'm replicating -1 h times, that is 4 times. And looking at this new data set, you will see that it is the same type of table that we are creating with slightly different values. Income and savings are going down, and unemployment is unchanged. So you can either use this rep function or create a data like this. And then I'm going to pass in this new data set in our forecast function. Now what I can do is I can plot everything on this graph along with our actual variable consumption. So let's look at the results based on these two scenarios. In the first scenario, our predictors were going up in the value, and hence our predicted consumption will be in this range. In the second scenario, income and savings were going down, and unemployment was unchanged. Our predicted consumption will be in this range. So this way we can build our forecast based on different scenarios. Now sometimes our predictors may be known in advance. For example, the values of trend and seasonal dummies are known in advance, and we don't have to create these values in this way. In this case, we simply estimate our model, and then we pass our saved model to this forecast function, and this function will automatically use the known values of trend and seasonal dummy variables to plug in as X variables and give us forecasts. In this case, the regression model is doing a good job in capturing seasonality, and our prediction interval is also relatively small. So in the scenario-based forecast, you give particular scenarios of these predictors to see what will be our predicted values of our variable of interest. Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.